Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all. Myself Vaibhav. In today's session of automated trading, we will start afresh with a fresh setup. The last indicators which we were working with the fractal, we are going to still use it but along with a different combination. We are bringing in this awesome oscillator which we have worked earlier as well. I think almost a month or two back, and we will see how this combination of these very useful indicators can make a useful algorithm for us. There is a technical description here. I hope you are well familiar with the technical functionality of the fractal indicator. It is a fairly simple indicator which we try to see the formation with successive bars, and the middle bar we can take at least the series of 5 or more than that, and the middle bar should have the highest or the lowest value, that is the maximum or the minimum, and the prior values, prior candles and then the successive candles should have the lower highs or lower lows uh, respectively. So that's it. And this is the awesome oscillator. It also helps us determine the trend and the strength of the underlying instrument, and we use it to help us take trades with the trend. If it is rising, then we look for the buy trade. If it is falling, then we look for the sell trade. The min max, the lowest and the highest values over a specified period of time. And the ATR is mostly used for the optimizing the entry and the exit points. And before we begin the session, this is a standard disclaimer here. I would like to remind that this session is simply for the tutorial purpose and no claim is being made regarding the profitability or otherwise of the algorithms which we will be developing during the session. Suppose if you want to use any of it, I would recommend that you do extensive trial runs and also allow it to run on the demo account for good enough time to get a good enough idea of the efficacy of the algorithm. And of course, nothing in the webinar is to be constructed as an advice to trade or for any particular setup. With that, we get started for the day. So here we will see the idea what we are trying to achieve. We want the buy trade to happen when the awesome oscillator is having the positive values. In these three outputs possible, the awesome oscillator will only have one value, which will be either the positive value above 0 or the negative value below 0. Suppose if it is in positive territory, then the negative value is not there, it is equals to 0. And the one value which is also possible is 0, but we are not really concerned with that. We only deal with the buy trade when the positive value is there and it is rising. When the value starts to fall, when it goes into decline, we don't want to go in for a fresh trade. We will just sit on the sideline. We are not really going in for a sell trade either. We will be looking for the sell trade only when the negative values are there and the negative values are falling, that is the values are declining and going deeper and deeper. And when the reversal happens, when the negative value starts to rise, as is the case here, we will simply stop trading, and we will again go into a you can even say hibernation mode, and to make sure that we are getting some consolidation and also the short to medium term trend right, we will also use a this min max setup. Sometimes because of undue volatility, maybe because of event or some announcement from the monetary policy authority or even from the government representatives, we see undue volatility when the instrument might be flying haywire and it might be making highs and lows within the short interval of time. To avoid those kind of situation also, this min-max combination will help us. So what we do, we take these 30 hours minima maxima, we look at it. If we are going in for a buy trade, then the minima and the maximum values, current minimum maximum values should be higher than the values 29 hours back on the 30 hours time frame. So when, as is the case here, this minimum value is higher than the 29 hours back, and also this maximum value The time is 13 GMT of 18th May, so we go back in time on 7th of 15 GMT, and as you can see the value is high here, so the byte rate can happen, but that is the bare bone structure. Then again we need these awesome oscillator values to be rising, and unfortunately it doesn't really seem that the awesome oscillators values are rising. So the time is here 12 GMT. 12 GMT is this candle, and it has closed with some decent gains, but here the value is still in the negative territory, so no trade will happen, and we will simply be sitting on the sidelines. And I think here, if we don't use this min-max condition, then even the selling setup gets fulfilled. As you can see, this value is actually entering into a negative territory. Here we have this negative value of minus 0.0003, and then this fractal, the bullish fractal, is also there. It has been formed, but we want these min-max conditions to be fulfilled, and these awesome oscillator values are should be rising for a buy trade, and it should be falling for a sell trade. And along with that, if these both these conditions of the min-max and the awesome oscillators values are fulfilled, both the requirements are fulfilled, then we turn our attention to the fractal. This is a bearish fractal, but what we do is, when we see we are utilizing a combination of 3 bars on the each side, so we will take this minimum value, and the prior 3 candles should have higher minima, and then the successive candle should have succeeding candle should have higher minimum value. So what it will do, it will make sure that the uptick is there, the price momentum is starting to shift on the sideline, on the upside, and also the underlying momentum is also strong, as is indicated by the min max and the awesome oscillators condition. And then we can go in for a market open, or even a pending open, depending on where we want our entry to be. So that is the case here. And for a sale trade, we will need the requirement would be reverse of that. I think here somewhere the probability is there that our conditions might be fulfilled. As you can see that maxima is falling, but we also need the minima to be falling. The minimum value is around 1.08 at 20 GMT of 11th May. So we go back in time around 14 GMT of 8th May, and unfortunately the minima is higher, so no sale trade will happen, and also no buy trade will happen either, as we have these condition as minima is falling. I think the minima will be higher and the maxima is also higher, but the awesome oscillator has entered into a bearish territory, and because of that no trading will happen. So as it seems, prima facie the setup looks promising, of course, until we get it fully built, and then we test it on the historical data, and also we will need to allow it on the demo account for live testing as well. Only then, after a month or two, we will be really able to say if it is promising or not. But as looking at the chart, I get a feel that there is a good setup, and let us try to build that. In today's session, I am not really sure if we will be able to complete it, but to the extent possible, we will bring in some blocks and then try to get the structure going. And then next week we will be back, and we will, of course, next week it will be finished. So with that, we get started. First thing first, we will need to set up the instrument subscription, and for that we need the logical blocks. I think this time around we will try on candle setup, and also we will change the instrument. Here we will try to work with the USD JPY, as we have been doing a lot of on tick starts and Euro USD. We have most often than not we have used Euro USD as our instrument of choice. So let us try something different. Of course, if you want to use a Euro USD, you can do that as well. For the instrument subscription, we will need to take the default variable here, and that is default instrument. We take the default instrument, and the default instrument should match the last candle instrument, and here we have taken the bit candle instrument, and again we will need to look for another if condition. So again we do the candle instrument, and it should be, as I said, USD JPY. We are taking USD JPY here. Now we have to search for the USD JPY. Okay, we got it. Done. Default instrument is equals to the last bit candle instrument, and the candle instrument should be USD JPY. So our instrument subscription is done. Now we take the position amount, and the position amount should be 0. Why we do that is simply because we want the new trading to happen only when there are no open or pending orders in the system. So from my trading experience, I can say that most often than not, at any point in time, there is one underlying flow in the market. There is one driving factor. It might be a political event, it might be a technical event, or it might be some other factor which we can't really classify in one category. But the flow, the trend, or whatever you might call it, is simply driving various instruments, and because of that, it's better if you don't really take too many positions at the same time. So that is the reason why I prefer to put this condition. Otherwise, you can simply omit this condition as well. It's not really kind of necessary. And here we will need to take all position, both pending and the open position will be taken into consideration, and it should be 0. Okay, so we have got this. Now first thing is that we take the fractal value, and for that we bring in the indicator fractal, which is in the Bill Williams section. So here is our indicator of choice. So here comes the fractal, default instrument Euro USD, and what happened here? Oh, we forgot to change this default instrument from Euro USD to USD JPY. And where is the USD? Okay, we got it. So we we save it. Now default instrument has been changed and it should be reflected everywhere. Okay, and default instrument will need to match to the last bit candle instrument, and the candle instrument should be equal to GPY. So with that we get the setup going. It should be defined at 1 hour. So we make it hourly. Shift should be 3 as we are taking 3 bars on the each side. So because of that we will need the minima or the maximum which was formed 3 hours back. Okay. And number of bars on each side. Number of bars on side is going to be 3. Here comes the output values, the maximum and the minimums. Now we need to join it to the awesome oscillators, which will help us further optimize the setup. And this one also needs to be converted to hourly, and the shift should be 1 last hour's data we will be taking into consideration. So here we do that. Shift is 1. And here another one, shift should be 2. Here also hourly. We will need to compare these values to one another. The last hour's data, if it is rising, the positive value should be higher than the value of the oscillator with the shift 2. That's why we are taking in these two blocks with shift 1 and shift 2 setup. Okay, we join the flow here. Today is Friday, so we will color code the flow so as to make sure that we are aware if it is going through or not. So we take this. Now next thing is we will need to bring in the min-max. So here comes the min-max blocks, and we will need 4 of it. Shift 1, no, shift 0, the current value, compared to the value 29 hours back, that is shift 29. And then we need to do the minimum and the maximum separately, as we want the bit side lowest price as well as we want the ask side highest price, so we need to do it separately. So we need 4 of it. Battery is running low. Okay, we make it 1 hour hourly. We got it. Shift 1, no, shift 0 is alright. Time period 30, we let it remain as it is. We simply, if it is bid, we make it ask and we take the high price. and here also we do that change hourly, and ship 29. This one also ask and high price. And here we need to again make changes. This bid and low price we will need. We make it 1 hour. Close and the low price hourly, and this one also hourly. This ship 29. So we have got this ship 29 and both sides done. Low price, low price. Now we need to bring in the ATR. ATR will help us in pinpointing the exact entry point. We indicate that it should be somewhere in other. Yes, we got it right this time around. And we take the ATR value as we make it daily. Ship should be 1. Yesterday's value as today when during the early hours of the day the ATR will be quite lower because there has been no movement, and so because of the early hours limited range the current value gets impacted. That's why we take the yesterday's value. Okay, all right, we got the bare bone structure ready, the indicators most of it what we need. Now we will need to do a bit of calculations. So the next question which arises is, suppose if we are going in for a buy trade, so let us look for the situations where the buy trade might have happened. Let us take this one. I think no buy trade will happen. Not here also. Maybe let us take this 15 GMT. No, not here also, as these awesome oscillator values are falling. So again we need to search for the situation where the buy trade might happen. What time it is 9 GMT. And 9 GMT also no trade will happen, as 10 GMT it is the value is rising here. 10 GMT it is this one, but we are not we won't be in a position to go for a fresh trade then. Somewhere here let me check what time it is 13 GMT, and it is 13 GMT is here, but there is no fractal, so it is going to be fairly difficult to find all the requirements. So our algorithm will find it pretty tough to get trade, but whenever it will find it, I think the probability would be a lot high that we will be ending up in profit, and that should be the kind of trades we should be going for. So here, 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 The situation is now the fractal formation is completed around 22 GMT, and the negative values are starting to rise, so no trade again will happen somewhere here. Let us take this. We need 17 GMT again. The negative values are rising, so no trade here as well. And as you can see, the values are falling, but the min-max condition won't be fulfilled as the maxima is still rising there. So as you can see, it is proving a difficult job for us to find the trading opportunities which might fulfill the requirement as per our setup. So somewhere here, the formation of fractal will be over by 10 GMT. So the 10 GMT is here, but then the value starts to fall, and then the no trading will happen if the value starts to fall. And moving on, here I guess the trading will happen somewhere around here, and that is the time is 10 GMT. Now the 10 GMT is this. So okay, we finally have got a situation where our setup will be in position to place a order. So the 10 GMT is after this candle has closed, our setup requirement will be fulfilled. Now is the question, what should be the exact entry point? And as we were dealing with the setup in yesterday's session, what we did, we tried to get it as close to the minimum value for the buy trade as possible. So yesterday we were dealing with the 5% ATR difference on the daily time frame. So we were adding the minimum value uh, with 5% of the day's ATR range, and we were getting the entry point. So that kind of scenario again can be adopted, but then it will be the same setup, or you can even try to place the order at the exact minimum value just to make sure that whenever there is a due correction, and if the price comes back to retest to make something like double bottom, then we will be getting a chance. And then the question is also of order validity. What should be the order validity? Suppose if we are going for a trade after this 9 GMT candle has closed somewhere around 10 GMT, then the order validity thing will come into play, and then we will need to make sure that it is not valid for too many hours. We will maybe 2 3 hours, 4 hours, or even 1 hour. It will depend on the situation, and as you can see, then the stop loss also becomes a critical factor in the success or the failure of the trading setup. So we will need to deal with all these factors while determining the entry and the exit point. So for the day, we wrap up the session somewhere here. Means as we are also running out of time, and on Monday we will try to define the exact entry point. I will give you a couple of options, and you can then choose accordingly. And the setup is fairly simple to build, so you can make it equal to minimum. You can even go lower and place the order value less than the minimum value by some say 5 or 10 percentage point, or even 20 percentage point of the ATR, or you can pick it directly, and whatever the candle closing level, you can even go for a market open, or you can add as we were doing till yesterday, till the last setup. We can even add to some extent and then pick up the value on the higher side, but as close to the minimum value as possible. So all these factors can be considered, and then we will be in a position to go for a profitable enough trade. So that is the thing to do, but for the time being, we wrap up the session, and tomorrow is the weekend, so we will be having fun, know what to do, and is good enough for that day. and we can allow our algorithms to work while we do, or we can build fresh algorithms, new algorithms, or we can simply spend our time somewhere else on some more valuable things. Okay, so that's it for the day. I will be signing off now. See you on Monday. Goodbye.